Well, former Environmental Affairs Minister Nomvula Mokonyane doesn't know who paid for her 40th birthday. She made the claims at the state capture inquiry today, where previous witnesses testified that former BOSASA COO Angelo Agriti funded the festivities. Newzroom Afrika's Tumaole Mohlaoli has been tracking those proceedings. He joins us now live. Tumaole, good evening, and thank you so much for your time.
Good evening,
It seemed to be a bit of a difficult job for the evidence leaders, at least trying to pinpoint exactly what it is that Nomvula Mokonyane did and didn't remember about the parties and any other benefits she may have received out of BOSASA, because, of course, much of it contradicting the evidence that she gave versus what the others who've been her employees or who've been hosting some of these parties said.
No, absolutely, Kathy. And I think what the evidence leaders did do very well was to try and push Nomvula Mokonyane into a corner to jog her memory, so to speak, because they were saying that it's very convenient for the former Environmental Affairs Minister to then come back after this point, after hearing the testimonies of the guest house, former guest house owner where the event was held, and of course the personal assistant to her office during the time, her long-time personal assistant, who basically corroborated that there was communication with Angelo Agriti from BOSASA, asking about things like gifts and where to drop off parcels. So she found herself in a very tight corner, and she was called out because of that by the Commission's evidence leaders. And one thing that I want to take us to, again, to remind our viewers, is just exactly what happened and what transpired when she was interrogated about this birthday shindig.
See, my difficulty is I can't see how what seems to have been a very big birthday party could have been done for you without you and your husband knowing who paid for this party, this big party. One of you must have known. And if you say you didn't know because it was your birthday, they kept it as a surprise, logic says to me, then your late husband must have known that it was BOSASA. Is my logic problematic?
It may not be, it may be. He might have also been approached to say, listen, we're organizing this thing. Please secure Nomvula on that day. Make sure that you bring him along. You bring her along. I'm falling into not just things of him and her. Please make sure that you bring her along.
Yes, yes.
And that was it. And hence, from the morning was, Mohai, to remember, we've got a date.
Yes.
And,
you see,
and that was it. And that was it.
You see, if one accepts the proposition that at least one of you knew that BOSASA paid for it, and if one, yes, yeah?
Yeah, maybe he may know.
Yes,
He might have known.
Yes, yes.
He might have not known.
Yes.
All I am saying is, I was requested not to, actually I was instructed not to commit.
Not to go anywhere.
Exactly.
And this is part of the evidence that Nomvula Mokonyane came before the Commission of Inquiry today. I suppose one of the difficulties for Justice Zondo is that at the end of this process, he has to make certain conclusions, right? Yes. And so it cannot come down to a case of he said, she said. Are we any clearer to understanding who might be telling the truth or who might not be telling the truth, especially where the version of accounts that relates to Nomvula Mokonyane is concerned?
Absolutely, Kathy. And I think when you look at how Nomvula Mokonyane's evidence has sort of taken a U-turn from the very, very strongly worded statements she made when she first appeared, basically declaring Angelo Agriti a liar who was out to assassinate her character, who had a vendetta against women, all sorts of claims, and she was very strong about what she remembered, what actually happened and what didn't. And now to come back following the testimony of the PAs who faced her squarely where Agrizi said she was in terms of what had happened, seemed to then put her in a very difficult place, because as she was testifying today, she was given a very hard time by the evidence leader to say that you seem to have been misleading the commission, and the only reason you would have then come back, because she did indicate that she wanted to come back and correct certain things, is because now various people at key places, including the owner of the guest house, have come out and said things aren't adding up in terms of their testimony versus what she said earlier.
All of this comes down to her credibility as a witness, and we know that in processes like this, that becomes very important. So in as far as it relates then to the multiple allegations that Angelo Agrizi has made against her, are we any clearer to seeing what will hold and what doesn't hold?
Very good question, Kwesi, and this is what the Commission's work will entail, because after everything is said and done, the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture will then have to make certain recommendations. This will then be down to Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo to look at the various evidence and the various testimonies given by individuals like Nomvula Mokonyane and weigh it against those who basically had been working around her, working with her and for her, and then make recommendations. And we know that those recommendations will then be looked upon very seriously, because they'll be passed on to the President, who will make then recommendations for organs like the investigative unit, the Special Investigative Unit, and other law enforcement organizations, to try then and see whether these can be tried in a court of law. So when you look at these particular statements and the evidence that's been brought before the Commission, very serious evidence, then it could spell very, very serious trouble for people like Nomvula Mokonyane, if it is found that indeed their relationships with organizations like BOSASA were undue and they received undue benefits despite being and holding high positions of office in public office.
In a lot of the instances where it relates to either the work that was being done, who was orchestrating some of these instances that led to these benefits, as it were, the name of the now late husband of the former minister has come up a number of times. That's going to be an incredible hurdle for the Commission. Any indication on how they're going to deal with evidence that specifically relates to what he may or may not have known, since, of course, he's no longer here to be able to answer for himself?
Absolutely, Kathy. And I think what the Commission has done very well is that in terms of allegations that have been made, where people's names come up, what the Commission does and its evidence team is that it goes and tries to corroborate that evidence by finding those who can corroborate the stories or deny them quite effectively by having either been within close proximity or having been part of processes that are alleged to have happened with those that are listed. So this is what the Commission will probably do. It will probably try to find those who are linked to the late husband of Nomvula Mokonyane to see if any of these allegations can be corroborated very concretely.
All right.